When we talk about One Piece games, most people instantly think of the more popular and widely discussed titles, like One Piece Pirate Warriors, with its Muzu-style gameplay packed with action and hundreds of enemies in a single battlefield, or One Piece World Seeker, which offers an open-world adventure experience with more freedom and exploration. Even newer games like One Piece Odyssey, with its turn-based RPG approach, have already started gaining attention that brings the Straw Hat crew into a brand new journey. But behind all those big titles, there's one game that often gets overlooked, even though it actually has incredible potential to deliver a completely different gameplay experience from most other One Piece games out there. One Piece Burning Blood.
Arara, とうとうここまで。お前にはまだこのステージは早すぎるよ。
堂々としちょるのドラゴンの息子。
怖いね、この若さ。
Released in 2016, Burning Blood takes a very different direction compared to the usual One Piece titles we're familiar with. While most One Piece games focus on exploration or large-scale battles against waves of enemies, Burning Blood chooses to go down the path of a 3D arena fighting game, putting character versus character combat at the very core of its gameplay. This makes it a refreshing alternative for One Piece fans who want to experience intense 1v1 duels, complete with deeper and more strategic combat mechanics. What makes Burning Blood stand out is that it doesn't just offer fighting for the sake of action. It genuinely tries to capture the essence of Devil Fruit powers, Haki usage, and each character's unique fighting style. These are elements that most other One Piece games don't fully explore in such depth. Unfortunately, despite all the interesting features it brings to the table, the game isn't without its flaws. Several technical issues and a lack of content variety make Burning Blood fall short in appealing to a broader audience. As a result, even though it has a solid foundation and a unique concept, the game ended up fading into the background, overshadowed by the popularity of its more mainstream counterparts. It's a title that truly had the potential to shine brighter, but sadly, still remains under the radar for many players. One of the most striking aspects of One Piece Burning Blood is the unique genre it brings to the table compared to most other One Piece games. While Pirate Warriors is known for its Muzo-style gameplay, where players can take down hundreds of enemies in a single mission, Burning Blood takes a completely different approach. It's a 3D arena fighting game. The gameplay style is more similar to Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm or Dragon Ball Xenoverse, where battles happen in closed arenas, either in 1v1 or 3v3 matches, with a strong emphasis on tactics, timing, and combo execution. This makes the overall gameplay experience feel much more focused and personal. Players are pushed to truly master their characters, understand combat mechanics, and read their opponent's fighting movements carefully. This difference in genre brings a refreshing twist, especially for players who want to enjoy intense, small-scale character duels that resemble iconic battles from the One Piece anime. Another standout feature that makes Burning Blood special is its strong emphasis on the unique power systems of the One Piece world, namely Devil Fruits and Haki. Unlike other games that often treat these powers as mere visual effects or flashy special moves, Burning Blood integrates them directly into the core gameplay mechanics. One of the most interesting examples is the way Logia-type Devil Fruit users are handled. In the game, Logia users can become intangible, making them immune to regular physical attacks, unless the opponent uses Haki or certain special moves. This mechanic not only makes the gameplay feel more authentic to the source material, but also adds a layer of strategy when selecting your characters. You can't just pick your favorite fighter and hope to win. You need to carefully consider team composition and counterplay strategies. This leads to a more thoughtful and tactical combat experience, encouraging players to understand each character's strengths and weaknesses in detail. From a presentation standpoint, One Piece Burning Blood also delivers with flashy visual effects and an art style that stays true to the anime and manga. Every attack, especially the ultimate moves, is presented with dramatic, colorful animation that captures the high-intensity feeling of One Piece battles, delivering a truly satisfying anime moment vibe in every fight. Additionally, the game offers plenty of fan service that will definitely please longtime fans. Character models are carefully designed to match their anime and manga counterparts, complete with exaggerated facial expressions, signature movements, and voice lines from the original Japanese voice actors. It makes Burning Blood feel less like a typical fighting game and more like an interactive episode of One Piece that you can fully control. Another praiseworthy aspect of Burning Blood is its diverse and expansive character roster. The game includes a wide range of playable characters, from major names like Luffy, Zoro, Ace, and Doflamingo, to lesser-seen characters that rarely appear in other games, such as Bartolomeo, X-Drake, and Koala. Not only that, Burning Blood also features different character versions or forms, such as Luffy in Gear 4, Sabo with the Flame Fruit, and other alternate variants with distinct fighting styles. This variety gives players the freedom to experiment with different playstyles and team strategies. With the 3-character team system, the game offers high replayability, especially for players who enjoy testing out unique character combinations and fine-tuning their strategies in each match. It also helps showcase the rich and diverse world of One Piece, packed with interesting fighters beyond just the main crew. While One Piece Burning Blood delivers exciting combat and flashy visual effects, unfortunately, the game's control system and camera mechanics remain one of its most noticeable weak points, often disrupting the overall gameplay experience. One of the most common complaints among players is the camera movement, which isn't always responsive, especially when characters are fighting near the corners of the arena or in tight spaces. The camera tends to get stuck in awkward angles, causing players to lose sight of their own character or the opponent. This becomes a serious issue during critical moments when precise timing for attacks or defense is crucial. In some cases, even dramatic attack animations can be obscured by poor camera positioning, making what should have been a cool cinematic moment feel awkward instead. This clearly shows that while the game had big ambitions in delivering cinematic battles, the technical aspects, particularly camera control, weren't fully polished to support that vision. Another notable drawback in Burning Blood is the character balancing, an issue that becomes even more apparent in competitive gameplay. Certain characters, especially Logia-type Devil Fruit users, feel significantly overpowered due to their intangibility ability, which makes them nearly immune to regular attacks. While the game does offer counter mechanics like Haki, the reality is that not all characters have equal access or effectiveness with those mechanics. As a result, in online matches or ranked battles, players often stick to a handful of safe or overpowered characters, while others are rarely picked because they simply can't keep up. This disrupts gameplay diversity and makes matches feel repetitive. When it comes to content, One Piece Burning Blood also falls a bit short, particularly in its story mode. The game's story campaign focuses solely on the Marineford War arc, a fan favorite, no doubt, but also a limited scope that restricts the overall adventure experience in the One Piece universe. The story is presented through brief cutscenes and relatively short fights, without much exploration or deep character interaction. So if you were hoping to follow the Straw Hat Crew's full journey or revisit other iconic arcs like Enies Lobby, Dressrosa, or Whole Cake Island, you'll likely be disappointed. Compared to other One Piece games, the story mode here feels more like a side feature than a main attraction, which is a missed opportunity, considering the rich narrative potential the One Piece world has to offer. The lack of variety in gameplay modes also becomes apparent once you finish the story mode. Beyond the campaign and standard versus battles, your options are limited to offline skirmishes, training mode, or online multiplayer. There's no survival mode, tournament challenges, special events, or any additional content to extend the game's replay value. For players who aren't too interested in online ranked matches, Burning Blood can start to feel stale rather quickly, simply because there's no extra incentive to keep playing. Unlockable modes, mini-games, or even time-limited events could have helped make the game feel more alive. But sadly, none of these are present. Because of that, Burning Blood often ends up being a short-lived experience. And that's unfortunate, because with such a solid foundation in its core gameplay, this game had the potential to deliver a more long-lasting and diverse experience. So, that wraps up our full discussion on One Piece Burning Blood. A game that's often overlooked, but actually has unique value and cool potential compared to other One Piece games. Despite its flaws, it's still worth trying, especially if you enjoy 1v1 duels and want to experience the flashy and strategic combat system inspired by the One Piece world. If you've played Burning Blood, feel free to share your experience in the comments. Thanks for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.